when you can see the evidence, acknowledge its validity, and yet still believe what you've been presented with, then there is a problem. So one of the key dynamics that we are up against is humankind. We see the comments that are constantly appearing in the videos, and I can go through the comments, but it would just be the same thing over and over again. But I'm just going to pick out 2 comments on this video to show you ignorance and why it is that so far this sport has got away with doing what it's done. So this is on the video I did about Johnny Herbert's interview with Sky Sports F1, with the Sky Sports F1 studio, that was broadcast the day after Abu Dhabi happened, so on the 13th of December 2021. So I'm exposing the things that Herbert's saying and the fact that never once did it properly address the crux of the matter or expose all of the people that were involved and their roles and what they actually knew, because nobody's ever told you that. So this comment here by this Danimal Planet 18, all right, says this: utter tosh. Abu Dhabi 2021 was just a mistake by the race director who buckled under weeks of stress. That's it. You can't blame drivers for seizing the opportunity presented to them, and we cannot turn back what-if situations, nor has there been reason or precedent in F1 to revert back to the standings before a bad race director call. Exactly the reason why Hamilton ought to keep his 2008 title, because that also becomes what-if territory then. So I'll respond to this first paragraph before I go on to the second paragraph. Firstly, there is a massive majority of people that has bought this notion of it just being a race director buckling under pressure. They do not understand that what they were watching was a narrative. They do not understand that what they were hearing, the way that the action was being described, the possibilities that were being presented to them weren't even possible. So they don't understand that their brains were being conditioned to accept something. Even the notion of me saying that makes them think, oh, this guy is a conspiracy theorist. They can't understand the fact that what is presented to somebody and the manner in which it is presented to somebody makes them process it a certain way, makes them believe certain things to be true, and they can't accept the fact that this sport has presented them something in a manner to get them to believe it to be a certain way. Even that very concept blows people's minds. They can't get their head around that. So not only can they not see that F1 TV was actually playing them driver to pit radio messages which weren't relevant, that weren't showing them the proper on-track action that was relevant, in terms of they didn't show us categorically what was going on at turn 14 and explain the fact that if that was not clear in time for those lapped cars to be released on lap 56, then it would be a safety car finish. It is that simple. They didn't do that. Why did the sport not do that? And people will try to find excuses for that. They'll always try to say, yeah, but, right? There is no yeah, buts. That's all it is, right? Forget your yeah, buts, because your yeah, buts are based on your desires. Oh, but I wanted to see a racing finish. We all want it, right? Okay, it's not about what you want. It's about what is permissible within the sport, okay? And you can't break rules of sport to give people what they want. That is fixing an outcome. That is the bit that's the problem, and you don't understand that, because again, you think that, oh, but I want that, so they're allowed to make that happen for me. This is mentality. People are just like, it blows your mind, people's headspace. Then here, where it's got comparing it with 2008. So 2008 was a year of Crashgate, where we know the Renault team purposefully crashed one of their cars to make it possible for their other car to win the race. So if that happens in a race, what do? You disqualify them for cheating, okay? And with disqualifying the cheats, they get removed from the order and everybody else moves up a place in the order. So Alonso loses his race victory and that winner of the race becomes Nico Rosberg. That's what you do. If you look at anything, any sport where somebody is cheated, they get disqualified and the official standings get changed. You don't just void the entire event because one competitor is cheated or one team is cheated. So one team is cheated, so we just void the entire competition. We void this section of the competition. That's not how it works. But did the FIA do that? No. Alonso has still got that trophy. This is how corrupt things are. But you then, because you want Lewis Hamilton to not be as successful as he has been, you want that to be taken from him. That is your desire. Okay? I cannot convince you otherwise. That is your desire based on your belief system and based on your desires. And your reasons for your desires are entirely up to you. But why you would desire somebody to not be as successful, that's down to you. Second paragraph. Anything that happened earlier in the season were racing incidents, with Verstappen being up front in points, therefore shoving the risk on Hamilton's plate. But it's legit. Silverstone was unforeseen, but the Monza crash was in favour of Verstappen. If they had crashed in Brazil, the advantage would have been Verstappen's. Same in Jeddah. In other words, Verstappen could afford the risk, Hamilton, as the pursuer, could not. But the notion that one or the other would have cheated or played false intentionally is nonsense. The race director made a mistake in the heat of the moment. That is all. So again, people think this is the way I think it is. Okay, this is the way I think it is. You think it's that way, but you don't know what you are talking about. You don't know what is deemed foul play in this sport. You have watched the sport recently. You have seen what goes on, and you've seen what they currently penalise. That doesn't mean to say that it's okay. You see one driver driving in a certain way and you think it is okay and you like it and you think that that's all right, but it's not. And when other people say, well, that is foul driving, you will argue that it's not. But in football, if somebody came along and started just kicking players, missing the ball, just kicking players off the pitch, any of the watching public could see that these were fouls. But you would go, oh, that seems okay. The referees don't penalise him for that. That's fair football. You don't understand motor racing, and yet you think you've got a valid opinion, and you can't see what constitutes fairness within the sport and what doesn't. Again, you're blinded by your opinion, and yet you want to come in the comment section and say utter tosh, blah 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 blah, no actual relevance to your comment, and yet you get 16 people liking your opinion. 16 like-minded people liking your opinion. Okay, so we have that section of society which is large, very large, because it is desire driven without the ability to take a step back and remove whether you like Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen and assess the situation as to the rights and wrongs of the situation, irrespective of whether the person you like is impacted by that situation or not. So that is a huge problem. But what you need to understand, which these people won't understand, is that the sport of Formula One knows this. The sport of Formula One, any part of marketing, any part of advertising, they do market research. They do all the research about their target audience. They tailor what they present to that audience to achieve the maximum success from what it is that they want to achieve. It is a science. They've been doing it for years. They've been refining it for years. Okay? They understand you. They know more about you than you know about yourself. They see they track your cookies. What do you think that is? When you are on the phone and you are chatting to your friend about something, or you're in a room and you're chatting to your friend about something, and the next time you go onto your social media account, a random advert appears, totally random, for something that you'd only been chatting about a few hours before. Isn't that weird? But you don't realise that they are actually listening to what you are talking about, and then that gets presented to you. Do you want to buy this? Who's going to make money out of this? Click on this. You are clearly interested in this. They know. They monitor the types of comments that are being made in social media. They see people's level of intelligence. They see people's level of belief. They see people's level of understanding. The sport knows that over 90% of the fan base doesn't even know the rules of the sport. And that is key. And the sport has never truly educated the fans with what those rules are. Why is that? Ask the question, why has the sport of Formula One never truly educated the fans about what is acceptable, what isn't within the sport of Formula One, and why the rules are what they are, and the implications of those rules? They haven't done that. Why? Why haven't they done that? There are reasons. You always keep having to ask the questions, why? And yet we've got this person here that's commenting, along with the 16 other thumbs uppers, that will never know. They'll never know. They will never ask why. Okay? They won't challenge it. They have the attitude, I like Max Verstappen. I liked that happened. I hate Lewis Hamilton. I hate him. All is good. It was the right thing and I'm happy. That is their attitudes. Okay? You can't reason with that. Okay? And as such, what these people then do, they will fight for their desires. And that causes conflict. And whilst the conflict goes on, nothing gets resolved. And the true corruption, the people that perpetrate it, are not exposed. The level of corruption is not exposed. And the world moves on. And people get tired and think that they're powerless to change anything. So these things just get pushed aside and we're on to the next exciting thing, or the next controversy, or the next talking point. This is what happens. And what has happened? Along the way, certain people, certain organisations have made a lot of money. They've made a lot of money. And what we have these people in the comment section arguing with each other and going, ha ha, ha ha, you're right, I'm wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. And these people that are actually controlling this are laughing at everybody. They're laughing at me. They're laughing at you. They don't give a shit about any of us. Because actually with each click of certain social media, comes advertising revenue, and some of that they're benefiting from too. And for all this interest around the sport attracts people to want to invest in the sport because, again, they want the advertising clicks that they'll get from people being actually interested in the sport. So everything benefits them. They don't give a shit. The only thing they care about is money. They don't care about what's right or wrong. They don't care about integrity. They don't care about doing the right thing. Okay, they care about money, and they're laughing at me and they're laughing at you, and you won't believe it. You won't see that. You'll come here and want to conflict with me. Okay, and you can't see that you are arguing on behalf of something that took place which was corrupt. You liked what it gave you, and that's why you want to hold on to that, but you can't see otherwise, right? I'm going to go down to a lengthy comment now, and this is the other side of it. So we've got the fanatical aspect of it from this person, okay, who just won't see it from the other side because they're a Max Verstappen fan. Now, further down the comment section is a very lengthy comment from somebody that is probably a reasonable person, but they can't see their own failings. They will project that I'm the one with the failings, because again, this is standard practice. They will project what I'm seeing here. You're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're not doing this, you're right. But they won't be able to acknowledge that they're not doing any of that themselves. You know, they want to analyze everybody else. And as we know, Dolph Lundgren keeps telling me that I'm projecting hate. I'm not looking at what he's saying. I'm not doing this. Okay, you're yet to absorb what I've told you, and when you do, you will see that I'm right, but you will never do that. So, you know, everything you want to project in return, it's irrelevant. I do to try to project that I do not self-evaluate. You do not know me. But I'm going to go through this comment with you and pick this one through. It's very, very long. It says, I am a Lewis fan. This moment still pains me. I still can't watch the highlights of the race. It makes me feel sick. However, everyone needs to try to move on and let go. Right, so firstly, somebody is trying to tell us to move on and let go. By doing that, what has that achieved? 2021, there was something that took place that was corrupt. Let's not do anything about it. Let's move on. Let's let go. Well, what we saw in 2022 and 2023? We've seen Red Bull domination for both seasons, and we've seen Max Verstappen win further titles. Now, if that gave us no concern and we had no concerns with that, I don't have a particular problem with a certain team dominating if I believe that there is no concerns about the legalities of the situation. But what we have seen in 2022 and 2023 is the favouring of that Red Bull outfit. What we do know is that Red Bull broke the cost cap budget in 2021. That is a fact. Let's not argue about it. What we don't know for certain is the exact figure, because again, at the start of the situation, it was rumoured that they'd overspent by 7 million. That figure came down to 2 million. That figure came down to 400,000. Which do we believe? The FIA in the end said, oh, it was just 400,000 or whatever it was, and all sorts of, oh, it was something that wasn't considered. There was a tax rebate. There was this, there was that, there was the other. Christian Horner is threatening, when it's first revealed, to take legal action against people that would ever accuse Red Bull of such a thing. And then in the end, they're found guilty. So it's full of lies. You don't know who to believe. Is the situation downplayed? You know, you can't trust the situation. So if anybody actually trusts the final figure, you need to think to yourself, why should I believe them when I've received so many lies? You've lied so many times. Why should I believe that what you're now telling me is the truth? And this applies to the entire outfit of Formula One. The entire outfit of Formula One. And I'm including Mercedes on this. Okay? Don't believe Toto Wolff. Do not believe Toto Wolff. Be skeptical of it all. Don't believe all of the other teams. All of the other teams had their races impacted at Abu Dhabi, yet none of them protested. That's a problem. They are complicit with what took place. Okay? So they allowed the rules of the sport to be broken and did not do anything about it. And even the notion of this, oh, well, the teams agreed, you're not allowed to do that. The teams aren't allowed to agree to the rules being broken before the event to facilitate a certain outcome. That outcome being a racing finish. Because if the situation does not permit that, you can't break the rules to manufacture it. That's not okay. But again, who has presented that to you like that? Oh, but I wanted to see a racing finish. But I don't care what you want. That's not how things are allowed to be. That's why we have rules. Rules aren't there for your wants. They are there for fairness to all, to have a structure, to have a system. These are the parameters. These are what everybody must abide by. Okay? Therefore, we all know, we're all on the same page with this, and we can all conduct ourselves within that system for fairness to all. Okay? You can't go breaking that. That applies to societal rules as well. But this chap is telling us to move on. So what we've seen in 2022, we've seen this Red Bull car, which a portion of the 2021 budget would have been used on developing the 2022 spec car, but they've overspent. So that 2022 spec car has been received benefit from additional money being spent on it that the other teams didn't have. That then 2022 regulations are we are told that Adrian Newey wrote a thesis on ground effect aerodynamics. Adrian Newey works for Red Bull. Who decided that ground effect aerodynamics would be the way to go for that design phase of the Formula One cars? Why is it that design philosophy was adopted for Formula One, knowing full well there was one supposedly foremost expert in that kind of knowledge, that one of the teams had that advantage? You can explore the roots of that, but you've got to start looking at what is really going on here. And there'll be people that argue, they'll argue and they'll defend it and they'll go, yeah, but that's fine. You can't say that's corrupt. Look at what is happening. Just look at the big picture. I'm not arguing to the extent, but you just look at the picture. Look at what's going on. And then what we get, we see these cars, and most of them are porpoising in 2022. The Red Bull seems to not do that. And then we get told halfway through the season that Red Bull, and I think it's Ferrari, have got this plank underneath the car that has been designed to flex and designed to kind of bend in a different position. You're not allowed to have movable bodywork on a Formula One car. The only things that are allowed to move on the bodywork of a Formula One car are the wing mirrors and that DRS flap. Any other part is not allowed to move. There will be flexing within certain limits, okay, such as the forces increase on the front wing and the rear wing, they will deviate. Okay, that is just the fact that the materials being used can never be super rigid, because the weight involved in creating such a structure that won't move will make it too heavy. So they accept certain things like that, and there are certain parameters. But designing something to particularly move and change as that car gets the speed of that car increases, that's illegal. But what does the FIA do about that? They say, oh, these teams have found a loophole. Oh, this is a grey area. Oh, we are going to now introduce new anti-porpoising regulations, so the teams are going to have to comply with these. What is the truth? What is the truth? So can you trust that? We get to Japan, we get told, oh, half points are going to be awarded in this race because it's not going to run to full race distance. And then we get to the last couple of corners. We get an incident between Charles Leclerc and going off the track, and then we get a steward's decision that's made within seconds. And then, as they're on the podium, we get Johnny Herbert saying, "Oh, and this means Max Verstappen, you're now the 2022 world champion." Incredible that Honda have announced their return to Formula One at the Japanese Grand Prix, and at the same time, Max Verstappen wins the World Championship. Incredible. It's not coincidence. It's not contrived. You know, what can you trust? We see Max Verstappen not penalised. We see drivers receiving penalties, but those penalties don't apply to Red Bull cars. 2023 has been the same. We've seen, again, the Red Bull cars and drivers not be penalised in the same way that other teams are. We see them getting away with things. We see a car that is so far ahead of the opposition that it is not in accordance with the level of domination we've seen in the past, because even when we've seen dominant teams in the past, they aren't to the level of what we're seeing this season. And who is questioning the legality of that? We don't get to check. We don't get to scrutinise these cars and compare the Formula One cars, compare them with what's actually allowed in the technical regulations, and understand what is legal. We have to go on what they tell us. And if you can't have any faith that they are going to tell you the truth, why should you believe them? And yet people blindly believe what they are saying. And you can pick so many holes where they're not telling the truth and they're doing the wrong thing, and yet you'll still believe that they're telling you the truth. This is the problem. Right, here we go. This is the criticism of me and my channel. There is a lot of emotion present here, and therefore hyperbole. So I did a video about mind games. Not my last video, which was about trolling. It was the one about mind games. And I demonstrated hyperbole in there. I demonstrated that when you watch Formula One, that is all hyperbole. That is all about presenting this fast, loud, high-paced commentary, throwing into the mix lots of different scenarios, eventualities. Could it be this? Could it be this? Are you going to see this? Are you going to see that? And it's what it's doing. It is clouding judgment. It's not enabling people to just watch what it is they're watching, absorb it, and understand for themselves what is possible, what's really happening, what's right, what's wrong, what's true, what's not. In the end, what happens is people get swept along with it, and it builds their emotion, and it builds up a frenzy, and then that releases, yes, and this is happening, and nobody stops and goes, whoa, that's either not true, that's not really happening, that's not right, that shouldn't be happening. But people don't care because they don't see it that way. They just go, and then they move on to the next thing in life. I enjoyed that. That was fun. That's it. Oh, those people that are still focusing on that. Oh, yeah, you're worrying about something not to worry about. That's what you're projecting about me. So I found your analysis fascinating. I am on your side, but I think there is room for more objectivity too. So again, they think they are being objective, yet they've not been through my videos to actually see what I've evidenced. Okay, so they think that I'm just saying this without evidence. They think that I'm just saying, look, you were lied to by F1 TV, you were lied to by Sky Sports F1. This rule break, which is pinned on one man, there's actually 10 people in FIA race control. After that then happened, that they knew what it would generate. there was a steward's appeal that was entirely corrupt. All the media coverage afterwards told you one thing, one story. It was fully deserved. It was so complicated. It was somebody under pressure. Nobody has revealed what I am revealing. Therefore, that is complicit media corruption. The FIA didn't set precedent as governing body, which they are entitled to do. The FIA covered it up. The FIA fed everybody a load of lies, which I'll evidence when it comes to analysing their report into the whole situation. But I'm the one that's classed as not having any objectivity. Okay? They think they are being objective. I am looking forward to these comments. I am more than happy to have sensible discourse with anyone, but I will ignore hateful comments that are not warranted. So again, this person is presenting themselves because they think themselves to be reasonable and they think themselves to be intelligent, and yet they're not able to open their eyes to what is true. So again, in my opinion, your passion of the Abu Dhabi scandal and the cult-like following you have on this channel has led to a warped sense of reality. So again, this is their opinion that they want to come here in the comment section to tell us. In my opinion, your passion of the Abu Dhabi scandal and the cult-like following. So this is, they want to describe this channel as being cult-like. The fact that we can actually see, actually evidence something that has taken place, evidence that what the world has been presented with about this to be lies, that makes us a cult, does it? That makes us the cult. This is somebody that thinks themselves to be intelligent and is labeling people a certain way because they think it is something else. I think it's this, so you thinking it's that makes you a cult. This, again, Formula One knows that this is going to be the dynamic. They know that if they use all of their tools, which is the media, to condition people's minds that it is a certain way, they will know that most people will believe it to be that certain way. Okay, that is what they have done. And even people that think themselves to be even-minded, reasonable people, okay, even fans of Sir Lewis Hamilton, they will still believe it. Oh yeah, the FIA, the sport has told us it was just a human error. It was just somebody under pressure. There were lots of mistakes. There were lots of things that have gone wrong. So we just need to draw a line under it and just move on. And those of you that are still thinking it's one big conspiracy theory, oh, you're just a cult. You're just all crazy. This is what the sport has done, and this is why they are getting away with it, because they've conditioned the minds to believe that. And the minds, rather than actually take a look at what I'm presenting, they will dismiss it. They will dismiss it. They'll go, I already know what happened here. I saw it with my own eyes. I watched that event live. I know. And I've seen what all the commentators have said. I've seen what all the media have said about it. So I know. And I'm saying to you, you don't know because you were lied to. But you won't believe me when I'm telling you that you were lied to. You would rather continue to believe the media. And even when you see something, a little snippet where you go, oh well, he's right about that. He's right about that. But no, he's still a conspiracy theorist. Oh, he's right about that. Well, yeah, it does seem to be the way he's saying it. That does seem to be happening, doesn't it? But no, we still know it was just an error. Oh, he's right about that as well. Oh, well, I don't know if he's right about that, but the way he describes it, that is actually happening.
But I don't think they would do it for that reason. I don't think they'd do it for that reason. It can't be for that, can it? It can't be that, can it? It can't be that, can it? You're always fighting. You're fighting because you're fighting with your own belief system, because you can't believe you've been lied to, and you think somebody like me is just going to lie because of what? Because of what? Because I've made all these billions from lying to you? Because I'm employed by Liberty Media, which got the contract from, Sky Sports F1, which got the contract from Liberty Media. So Sky Sports are under contract from Liberty Media to present to you the sport of Formula One in a certain way. And Sky Sports have presented that to you, and you believe them because they are supposed to be an authentic broadcaster. And you believe them. And you can't believe this notion that they've got an agenda and are paid to say things to you to get you to believe them to be a certain way. And you can't believe that they're going to lie to you about that. And everything that I say to you, that is not the truth. That is not how things are. They aren't the rules. They're not the purpose of the rules. They're things that they're even suggesting are remotely possible, are not. But you'll say, they must know. They must know. They're the experts. What do you know? Well, go and read the rules. And as much as Martin Brundle will keep continually saying, oh, they don't have to release the lap cars. I don't think it's mandatory. Right? Go and have a look at the rules. Right? The words optional rules do not appear in there. So you're going to have to somehow make it up in your own head to believe that a rule is, he can choose or not to choose whether to use this rule or not. And you can't get your head around that. But you believe it. Oh, Martin must be right. He's got 40 years of experience in the sport. He must be right and I must be wrong. You must believe Martin. Well, is Martin Brundle being paid a lot of money by Liberty Media to say things to you? Why would Martin Brundle lie? What's in it for Martin? But again, you're not gonna be able to cope with what I'm telling you. So we'll go back to the comment. It says, below are comments that I perceive to be hyperbolic, overly emotional, or too black and white. If you would like to respond, please feel free. I would like to hear your comments, and maybe you could make a video reacting, commenting on my points. Well, you got what you wanted, Arthur Horowitz. You got what you wanted. All right. I would be interested to hear your opinions on my perspective. I would like to think that my comment is rather unique on your channel. I am not exactly on your side, however, it is not a hate message, and I hope it doesn't come across like this. I just have a different perspective to you. We all do have different perspectives, and that's useful. That's useful. But what is extremely useful is the ability to take on board what is being suggested to you, because I'm looking at your comment and I'm taking it on board, right? But you're not hitting anything that I need to question myself on, because I can answer those questions. Okay. So, the most controversial thing in sporting history. This is highly unlikely, haha. Okay. This is obviously the most controversial thing for you, but not the whole history of sport. Okay, so yes, there are many controversial things that happen in sport where there have been wrong decisions made or there has been cheating. You know, we can look at Lance Armstrong taking drugs in the Tour de France. We can look at athletics events where there's drug taking. We can look at where referees are corrupt and have been paid off to make decisions. We can look at decisions that are clearly wrong, such as Maradona's hand of God incident in the 1986 World Cup. We can look at things like that. The difference with this one is that it was contrived, and you cannot see that. You think, because you've been told, that this was a error. You think that there was, it was just Toto Wolff was on the radio to Michael Massey, and so was Christian Horner, and under such chaotic pressure, Michael Massey said, "Oh, we'll just do it this way then." Oh, and it just meant that it was just one racing lap. That's what you think because that's what you have been told, and you can't see it any other way. And any way that I explain this to you, you are going to go, "Oh, that's not the truth. You're just a conspiracy theorist." And when I say to you, look at the videos I've shown, what you needed to see was what was going on at turn 14. What you needed explaining was, and this is the facts, this is in accordance with the rules of the sport, and you can't excuse rule breaking to create something that's not this. Okay, within the rules of the sport, what needs to happen is that track needs to be clear in time for those 8 lapped cars to be released before that safety car begins lap 57. That has to happen. That's the only way you get lap 58 as a racing lap, because lap 57 is that mandatory safety car lap given to those release cars with which to attempt to catch the back of the pack. And that then would have enabled lap 58 to be a racing lap. Now, if that isn't possible, then it becomes a safety car finish. That's simple. Now, I don't care who you are as an official. As an official, you know the rules of the sport. If you're a football referee, you apply the rules of the sport. You don't capitulate to pressure from either the crowd or the 2 benches from either side shouting at you, going, do this, do that, it should be this. No. You're the official. These are the rules of the sport. This is how I do it. So a official capitulating is no excuse whatsoever. That is a simple fact. Okay, it's a simple fact. If this track cannot be cleared by then, this is a safety car finish. That's how this race ends. That's how every other single race would end. That's not any different to any other Grand Prix. But they build it up. They tell you, oh, this is the season finale. This is the decider. This is as if it's some sort of penalty shootout just between 2 cars. It's not. It's just another Grand Prix. But they've conditioned you to believe it. Oh, this can be done differently. This is just between Lewis and Max. Every other team, you take me to any other Grand Prix. If you are competing in that Grand Prix and you're in 3rd place, and then there's a safety car, and then they decide that they're going to have just 1 lap of racing, but you get held back, so you can't even contest for a 1st or 2nd. Would you protest and go, "Hey, what are you doing here? I've just been racing all this race, and you've blocked me off from even being able to try and get 2nd position in this race"? Every team would protest that, and yet they didn't. And yet they told you, "Oh, this is not my race." That's not what it is it? That's not what it is. And for you to argue against that, it'd have to be another, yeah, but they weren't in contention for it doesn't matter. At every single Grand Prix, you have to do the same thing. It doesn't evolve into, oh, now they're the only 2 potential people that can win, so every other car no longer matters. That's not how it works. But again, you can't get your head around it to look at the full picture. It's not black and white. Things are often black and white. And what they try to do is turn them into grey areas so that they can get away with things being the way that they want them. And they'll go, "Oh, well, there's an excuse for this, or there's an excuse for that, or yeah, but I want it this way, so that's where it becomes the grey areas or the so-called loopholes.
There's some things that are just very, very simple, and yet they'll pretend that, oh yeah, but, and that's where they want you. That's how they want you to believe. Because if you keep excusing wrongdoing, they get away with the wrongdoing. That's the way it works. But you won't believe me. You just brand me as the conspiracy theorist. Okay? But who's making the billions? Who's profiting from all this? And who's just the one from nowhere that is a nobody pointing the finger and going, that's not right. That's not right. But that's the conspiracy theorist, isn't it? I'm the one that is part of the groups conspiring for things to be a certain way that's making them a lot of money. Yeah, I'm the one that's part of that. Or I'm the one that's just going, hey, that's not how things are. That's not how things should be. You're illegally, because there are laws in place to prevent that from happening, you're breaking them and you're making money out of doing that. But by me saying so, I'm the one that's clearly crazy. But you won't be able to get your head around that. Going back to where he was. So yeah, talking about the most controversial thing in sporting history, which he doesn't believe to be the case, but the fact is, the broadcasting footage creation was part of it. F1 TV, they are the ones with all the cameras at tracks. They were part of it. Sky Sports F1 were part of it because they were lying to you about the rules of the sport before it even happened. The FIA then perpetrated it in the form of Michael Massey making that decision, but there's 10 people in FIA race control. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you that Michael Massey is part of a big team in FIA race control. They just pin it on one man and make it sound like this one man was having to deal with all this pressure. Well, it's quite easy if the people are on the radio to you, in your ear, trying to coerce you and get you to change your decision making. It's quite easy to just turn the radio off from the teams. Shut up, not interested in what you've got to say. I'm dealing with what I need to do as an official. And the situation here is the track needs to be safe before anything happens. Everything else is irrelevant. It's quite simple. But you can, oh no, we accept this. We know how it feels ourselves when we're under pressure and we don't always make the right decisions. We can empathise with that. This is what they do. They play on that aspect of you. Right? That's the narrative. That helps them get away with convincing you that this is what happened. Fucking wake up. Right? And then, on from that, the stewards appeal, where I can demonstrate the experience of 3 of them stewards, what they knew, the fact that they let Red Bull in there to present Red Bull's case, which they should never have been in there. Right? You've never been told that, because no media has ever exposed that to you, and yet I'm the conspiracy theorist. And then every bit of media presentation you heard afterwards was validating. Oh, Max fully deserved it. Max led this many laps this season. Okay, yeah, it was controversial. Whoa! It wasn't controversial. It was contrived by all involved. But you won't believe that. You believe the narrative, right? I'm going to have to skip some of this because otherwise this video is going to be 3 hours. But anyway, 2021 was an atrocious year on the grounds of driving standards. Went out the window. I agree that driving standards did go out the window. However, on balance, I think it's fair to say that 2021 had many positives and was one of the most gripping title fights of all time. So, what made it gripping was the fact that it basically one driver was getting away with foul driving all the time, and because of him being allowed that, it meant they went into the last race equal on points. You know, he was gifted a win of a so-called race where there was no race. They paraded behind the safety car for a couple of laps and then got told, the world got told somebody had won. Well, you can't win anything if there's no competition, right? So, but Max Verstappen won that
he got 5 more points than they gave Lewis for that, because Lewis didn't achieve anything that race. Lewis didn't get a 3rd place, right? He didn't win anything. He didn't do anything. He literally drove his car around the track following the leader for a couple of laps with no ability whatsoever to overtake anybody, and then they came back into the pits and go, well done, you came 3rd. Well, you didn't do anything. But, oh, well done you, Max, you won. You get 12.5 points. Well done you, Lewis, you got 7.5 points. And now the crowd can go home without a refund. Yeah, okay, thanks for that. Oh, but the rules say that that's okay. The FIA rules have said that that's okay, so we must accept that. Who's writing those rules? Why did the race director decide that that was the right thing to do? What's the underlying agenda? Could that be money? Oh, right, okay, there we go. So what we've got then is a creation of this battle, facilitated through not applying the rules. Well, is that authentic then? You're allowing a driver to pretty much smash. Imagine the football season, the Premier League football season. Nobody wants to see Manchester City dominate. Now, Manchester City are a divisive team, and if they've broken the financial fair play regulations, then they shouldn't be allowed to keep the things that they've won. That's my opinion on it. If they've cheated, they've cheated. Do I like Manchester City in terms of their style of football? Yeah. I think they've taken the game of football to a different level. I think as a manager, Pep Guardiola is absolutely superb. And some of the style of play you see from Manchester City is brilliant. But if they've cheated, they've cheated. Right? And you shouldn't get to keep the gains of that. Now we'll have to see what the actual, the true level of spending and what has been breached. I don't know. So I'm not going to comment on that. But the situation is this. You can't say the Wimbledon team of the 80s, where they basically played the game like thugs at times, when you've got Vinnie Jones running around just hoofing people with leg-breaking challenges, right? You can't say, right, we've got a team that plays like that in the Premier League now, and we'll let them keep playing like that, especially every time they play Manchester City, to make sure that it's going to be a tight title battle. In fact, we'll let every team play like that every time they play Manchester City, because that will at least make it look like the title battle will go down to the last day of the season. And effectively, that's what the sport governing body has allowed. That is effectively what they've allowed. And that's far from okay. So, where we go. For me, 2023 was more atrocious. It was the most bloody boring. Okay, but we can't evidence the blatant rule breaking. Okay, we know that Red Bull are favoured, but I can evidence blatant rule breaking, and this is why the campaign is about Abu Dhabi. All right. If Lewis won, we would not be talking about the driving standards now. It would have been forgotten. It was only remembered because of what happened. Now I will tell you this. I hate social media. Right? I hate social media. I would not be on YouTube if I didn't have to be on YouTube. You see, when I created this particular, well, you can probably look at the history as to how long I've had a YouTube account. But in terms of actually putting out content on YouTube, this only began December last year. I didn't want to become an F1 YouTuber. Okay? The only reason I'm actually doing these presentations is because nobody else is. Nobody else is. Now, when I watched the Grand Prix racing in 2021, when watching it, I was saying this isn't right. But I wasn't the sort of person that's going to go onto social media to express that opinion, because that's just not who I was. That's not what I wanted to do. But it didn't mean that I felt that it was acceptable. I knew what I was watching. I knew the times where Max Verstappen was diving into corners and Lewis Hamilton had to yield to avoid collisions. And actually back then I was saying, well, actually what Lewis needs to do is actually have a crash to teach him a lesson.
That was my attitude at the time. And actually, I look back on that and I was probably wrong. And the reason I was probably wrong is because he shouldn't have to. Why should you have to endanger yourself? Because you don't know the outcome of a collision. When you hit another car at a high speed, you do not know what is going to happen. Now, the safety record in Formula One is not too bad, and it's very rare that drivers suffer injuries, thankfully, but you still don't know. And so why should it be that you're risking having a high-speed collision where there is a risk of injury to yourself purely due to the driving standards of another driver? That is not okay. Okay, collisions can happen, but if it is a sporting incident, if it's a racing incident, that can be tolerated. Okay, you have to accept those risks, but you shouldn't be accepting dangerous driving, which is against the actual driving standards. And all throughout that season, when I was seeing it, I was saying, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. But I wasn't projecting that view because that's not, like I say, I didn't want to be a YouTuber. I didn't want to have to make a campaign against this. And I would have just been pleased to say, despite all of that, despite them allowing Verstappen to get away with that, he still came back and still overcame that. That is the feat that he actually accomplished. Did it in spite of all that. But what has happened, the actual sport itself, has validated it. You had Sky Sports saying that, oh, this is just an uncompromising driving style. This is just aggressive. You got Karun Chandok making a video, and it's Max carries so much extra speed, and it's understeer, 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 and he chucks it up the inside. But Lewis, no, it's Lewis that chucks it up the inside here at Silverstone, forgetting to say that Max steered across the line of Lewis, right? But Max carries so much extra speed, and it's understeer, understeer, understeer. Watch that video. Watch that video. All right? Not what Martin Brundle just said at Abu Dhabi last weekend, where he said, well, he's got the inside line, so he needs to slow down to take the corner tighter. That's a bit different, isn't it, Martin? That's a bit different when you say, oh, he's on the inside, so he's got to brake harder now because he's got the inside line and he's got to obviously take the tighter turn. But Karun is telling us about Max. Oh, he's got so much extra speed, and it's understeer, and that's justifying driving another car off the track, is it, Karun? That's the narrative you want to give. Oh, but we've all got opinions. We've all got opinions. Is that what it is? So which one's the right opinion and which one's the wrong opinion? Which one is in compliance with driving standards and which one isn't? Who is teaching people that? And if I'm now raising my voice, you'll go, oh, you've got too much passion. You've got too much hate. This is the manner in which people then want to twist what is going on to project it being a certain way. I'm laughing at the situation myself at the moment because, yeah, I acknowledge that I get passionate about things. I acknowledge that I do get irate about things. One of the things that I get most annoyed about is that we're living in this world where this lie is being allowed to be presented to everybody and there's no consequence for it. People's minds are being conditioned to believe it to be a certain way and the truth isn't coming through. And that principle extrapolates to so many things in life and people do not realise it. Our lives are affected by decisions that take place that should not take place. They're presented to us as being something for a certain reason, for a certain way, and that's not the truth of the situation. Now, I don't want to get into all that now. I want to focus on Formula One. But if people start waking up to see what happened to them, what was done to them by the sport of Formula One, then maybe they'll start waking up to what is being done elsewhere with decisions that are made that impact their lives. That is really, really important. So, where are we going? Back to this comment. Where do I get to? Max getting away with dangerous driving. Simply allowed Max to get away with numerous completely out of order driving manoeuvres.
but it was also a tight battle because Mercedes and Red Bull were so evenly matched the whole season. Okay, Max Verstappen caused the Silverstone crash. That was my statement, and he's saying for him it was a racing incident with slightly more blame on Lewis. It is a large stretch to say Max caused this. Have you watched my video? Have you watched me do a frame by frame analysis? Have you seen where the impact took place? That it was well before the curbing of that corner, and it was the impact that caused Lewis Hamilton's steering to actually deviate, which he had to counter correct, meaning that that's why he was well away from the apex when he got to the apex. Have you watched that? Probably not. And who has broken it down that way? Nobody. But you won't believe me. You won't go and look at the evidence that I demonstrate to you. You will just go, oh, I don't believe with your opinion. Well, I can evidence what I'm telling you, but you won't look at that evidence, and instead you'll argue against me. Right? You won't go and educate yourself. You won't go and see what I have to present, but instead, what you want to do, I don't think that. You think this, I don't. Well, go and have a look at that then. See if that changes your mind. No, I'm not going to do that. I think this. This is what we're up against. No, I'm intelligent. I know. That's what you think. How about you go and take a look? See if it changes your mind. Right? Where are we? Talking about Max Verstappen's influence on children and stating multiple issues, including that it could lead to death. Come on, man. Ha ha. That's like Googling a tummy ache and reading something online that says it could be cancer. Ha ha. For me, it's too dramatic. Yes, Max is way too aggressive, but there have been other aggressive drivers too. So you don't believe the notion that children, young people, seek to emulate their idols, and they will look at their conduct and seek to replicate that. If you are engaged in a sport which carries danger, and people do maneuvers which are dangerous, there is not the possibility of serious consequences of that. So surely people need to be educated with what is right, what the risks are, and what the potential consequences are. But for you, you don't think that that could create such a problem, right? That's your opinion. The facts are, right, that things carry danger. And to minimize danger, you have to explain to people what you need to do to minimize danger. And if that's not happening, people just go and replicate this dangerous behavior, and that can result in injury and potential death. But haha, you don't think that. Well, thank you for your thoughts on that, but actually, what's your role in life? Does your role ever consist of anything to do with health and safety? Responsibility for that? I guess it doesn't, because you don't understand the responsibility of health and safety, do you? But you've got your opinion, haven't you? Oh, you tell us what you think in the comments section. Fucking hell, these people make me fucking mad. Anyway, where are we? Long ass comment from, again, somebody who projects themselves to be reasonable. Where are we? Max Verstappen. Rinsing. Oh no, where are we? Max was too aggressive, but there have been other drivers too. That's how disgusting the FIA are. This is too much hateful language. They were dreadfully incompetent, but you can't say disgusting. When you have a governing body of a sport that projects itself as having road safety in mind, educating people about road safety, educating people about motorsport, making sure that motorsport is carried out in a fair and safe manner, and yet allowing that. What are they doing? What are they doing? And that is disgusting. But you don't like that. You don't like assessing it that way. So I'm the one that's projecting hate, am I? I'm the one that's projecting hate. You're not holding them to account for what they're doing. They're doing it corruptly, they're facilitating something, and by doing that, that is potentially leading to endangering people. That is disgusting. But you think me calling them disgusting is me being hateful. The minds. Okay, so am I going to get accused of being sexist now? Is this Chazman that's made up a new account? Rinsing the female host for asking brain dead questions. She is not an F1 specific host. Chill. She is basically asked, should the students have let the cars pass to maintain consistency? Don't forget that this moment gathered so much attention worldwide, and probably lots of casual or non F1 were turning into it and not really understanding what was happening. No shit, Sherlock. Okay, so there's a lot of people tuning in, they don't understand, so what do? This is how they educate people. So what I have an issue with is we've got that was broadcast from F1 TV. We've got two people in the studio employed by Sky Sports. Okay, now if you get a job as a TV presenter for Sky Sports F1, I would think the minimum criteria should be that you have a knowledge of F1. You have a knowledge of motor racing. So we get a question going, do you think that it should be like this? Well, if you've got a knowledge of F1, then surely you should be able to answer that question yourself, and you should be able to help educate people yourself, rather than ask a question in a way that is purposefully designed to lead the answer to be a certain way. But you won't see it that way. That's what's taking place. That's what that Johnny Herbert interview is all about. That's what them hosts are doing. They are directing their questions in a certain way to lead Herbert to have to answer it a certain way. But you won't understand that. You won't acknowledge that. You won't understand that that is what they are doing. Wake up to see what media does. All right? But because I point out, well, what are you actually there employed as doing? Because you've not got the knowledge. You're employed on F1 TV. You don't have any knowledge of motor racing, or you certainly don't come across like that. But by me saying that, and because she's female, oh, you're being sexist. No, I'm not being sexist. I'm saying that you're not employing somebody with the competence. What are you employing them for? You're employing them there because they've got what some would perceive to be a pretty face, which is going to attract people to want to watch the content. That's not sexist. That is just a reflection of the dynamic in play. Now, if you want to project that as being sexist, well, that's on you. You don't understand what sexism is. Sexism is when you treat somebody from a different sex as being inferior due to their sex. I'm not doing that. I'm just highlighting the reasons why certain people are employed in certain roles and what the motivation is behind that. That's not sexism. So, and Chazman, maybe you can have a listen to that and understand your definition of sexism too. Where are we? But a lot of people won't have known that it does come across a little sexist, IMO. Right. The only clever thing about race strategy is that they knew something beforehand. For me, this is disingenuous to suggest. As you very succinctly explained, Red Bull pitted because it's standard practice to do so, and they were in the right place at the right time. Okay. The only clever thing about race strategy is they knew something beforehand. Right. Now that is speculation for me. That is speculation, because as of this moment in time, I cannot prove that Nicholas Latifi crashed on purpose. I don't know. I have my suspicions, but I don't know. I'm not going to go down the route of saying that was definitely a premeditated crash. It may be, it may not. All right. But ultimately, that doesn't prove whether or not what I'm saying is right or wrong. My point that I was making was during that race, Red Bull made 2 pit stops prior to putting Max onto soft compound tyres. And having made those 2 pit stops during the race, compared to Lewis's 1, They were still behind by 12 seconds. Okay, and yet their pit strategy is described as clever. It's not that clever, is it? They're losing a race by 12 seconds. What's clever about their pit strategy? There was a safety car incident. They were opportunist. They were able to do that. We can look at it that way. You don't look at the fact that they retired Sergio Perez. They tell you, oh, we were concerned about his engine. It seemed to be in the red. Okay, you're lapping at safety car speed. You're not really stressing that engine, are you? You're not like maxing it out on the limit racing on it, are you? Can you not? Will that engine not make it a further 2 laps to the end of the race before you have to retire him further 3 laps? Will it not do that? Is it that bad? Didn't sound it. Didn't sound it. And when the radio message to Perez, he didn't seem to feel it, because his response was, really? So that in itself raises a question. And like I say, which nobody's identified. Had, for example, in those safety car laps, Lewis Hamilton had suffered a puncture, or his engine had given way and had to retire, Red Bull would have got a 1-2, which would have won then the Constructors' Championship. But instead, seemingly out of nowhere, not for any reason that we can actually evidence, we have to rely on what Red Bull tell us, okay? Sergio Perez, even though Sergio Perez himself didn't identify this, something was wrong with his car, so they retired him. So it does raise the question, why did they retire him? Could there have been another motive? Was there a different plan? And was it just that Nicholas Latifi happened to crash and they seized that opportunity, as opposed to what might have been the plan otherwise? I don't know. That is going down the routes of theory at the moment, but you have to be able to look at the different possible scenarios as to what might have been going through the minds of these people. So that section, feel free to dismiss that. I'm dismissing it. Okay, I'm not using that as the crux of my argument, but if you fail to even recognise that as being something that's suspect, then you're not open-minded enough to actually look at the true dynamics of all that are in play here. What I'm asking you to actually consider is what did happen. What did happen? We saw a car crash, we saw a safety car incident. That safety car incident is standard. The cars could get by the Nicholas Latifi incident. The barriers weren't damaged to the extent of it requiring 20 minutes, half an hour to clear up. So you wouldn't deal with it with a red flag. You'd put the safety car out, which is what they did. The amount of time it took to clear that incident was about standard. It takes about 5.5 laps before you can resume racing. That's what it would have taken. But that takes us to the end of the race. That means it's a safety car finish. They didn't do that. They did it differently. In the lead up to that, in the lead up to them doing it differently, they didn't show you what was happening. They actually played radio messages to you, which made you believe it was going to happen this race. And them radio messages weren't in accordance with the rules of the sport, because that one about them, cancel that, lapped cars will not be released. Typical, I'm not surprised. Well, there's nothing typical about it, and even that being played to you was cementing the notion of that resuming with lapped cars in situ. Now, people can argue otherwise, but that's the underlying purpose of it. That's what it was designed to make you think, oh, well, even if they do get this race going, it's, them lapped cars will be in the way. Oh, typical, I'm not surprised. But that's not even possible. That's not even possible. But they played at you. They played you that message. But you won't believe me when I tell you it's not even possible. You'll believe Brundle. But then you'll go and read the rules. The rules will back me up, but you won't believe me. Oh, well, maybe. You don't know, do you? But you'll believe Brundle, not me. Even though they claimed that they changed the rules. They changed a word in the rules. And now it's like it was since 2012, which is how I'm describing it. But it wasn't like that just for that one race. But now it's back to that rule again, is it? rightio. Okay, I'm just the conspiracy theorist. That's fine. That's fine. Where else are we going? About hateful language, sexism. This is what I'm clearly guilty of all of this. Personally, I would guess that your main source of anger is that Hamilton didn't win the championship and didn't win the championship due to incompetent and illegal decisions made by the FIA, and your anger is justified. So you would guess that the main source of it, so you want to project that why I am angry. You think why I'm angry. I will tell you, rather than you assume and jump to the wrong conclusions, I will tell you why I'm angry. I'm angry because I saw corruption perpetrated on global TV and nobody has done anything about this. There are simple truths to this. Okay? There are simple truths, and it is corrupt. It was a contrived ending. You won't believe that. You'll just be happy to say, oh, it was just a mistake. It wasn't. It was entirely contrived. They knew what it was going to happen. Once it had happened and there was a valid appeal process, because this sport has an appeal process where you can amend the race result. That should have been done. And they kept it. Now, how do you justify that? You've got the media then telling everybody, this is okay, this is okay, this is okay, he deserved it, he deserved it, he deserved it, this is okay, this is okay. Nobody has told you what I'm telling you or is evidencing to you what my video's evidence. You've got a global media that I've contacted and explained to them into simplistic manners. You cannot just separate out two competitors in a multi-competitor event and set them off to race off for the win. That applies to any sport. If there is a field of competitors competing for a victory of an event, you can't just pick out two and go, we'll just let to see who's going to win out of you two. That's what they did in that race. That in itself demonstrates that that is not valid. Where have you heard that? Where have you heard that? Nowhere. Why is nobody explaining the simplicity of that? We have people that are paid lots of money as journalists to actually explain things to people. Who has actually broken down in an intelligent manner what actually took place in Abu Dhabi, the implications, what the rules are, what the purposes of the rules are? Nobody. So what does that suggest? That suggests that these people are complicit. You could say incompetent, but that is an extreme level of incompetence from a lot of people. From every F1 journalist, from every motorsport journalist in the world, are they all that incompetent that they can't break it down and say it in the manner that I'm saying it? Or is that they are complicit with the narrative? Ultimately, if you're not willing to actually ask yourself them questions, well, I'll never get through to you, but I can only do what I can do. This might be something that people listen to if they've got this far and will acknowledge the points being made. But this is the problem. The fact is, most people that have got this far will understand this, because the people that have got this far are open-minded enough and have already seen this. They've seen what I've presented already, and they've already seen it for what it is. Okay, they knew that it was wrong. They probably knew why it was wrong, and they could see it. But the way I'm trying to present it is in a way that's hopefully going to make it crystal clear to other people. Unfortunately, it's not going to get the exposure to that many people, because they'll try to suppress this, because they don't want people to see it this way. Okay, there are reasons, and I can show you some of the evidence for that as well, because I can show you which one of my videos YouTube seemed to promote to people, and the most important ones are the ones with the fewest views. Weird shit that is, isn't it? It's weird that some of the most important videos I've done that expose the most have got the least amount of views. But what can you do about that? I guess me even saying that makes me the conspiracy theorist again. But people say, oh, that's just the algorithm. Okay, fine. So we've gone through my main source of anger, that being the fact that this is a corrupt world, and that this media that we're supposed to believe in, that I grew up in life to believe that the likes of the BBC were presenting authentic information that's not biased, that's just telling us the facts, telling us how it is. We are independent. We are funded by, license payers' money. We're not being lobbied by commercial interests. So we're going to tell you the truth about the situation. We're going to present everything. And that's not happening at all. And it wakes you up to the fact that how many other things in life are you receiving a version of events which benefit somebody's agenda. That's what I'm angry about. People don't understand. They think, oh, you're just a Lulu fanboy. You're just a Lewis Hamilton fan. Well, Lewis Hamilton is somebody I respect. I respect him as a human being. I respect him as a sportsman and his accomplishments. As I respect many, many top-level sportsmen, because I like sport. So those people that are the true champions and have demonstrated greatness, then I acknowledge that. I wish I had that level of ability, which I don't. So yeah, I respect him. I acknowledge him. I've not got a poster of Lewis Hamilton on my wall and never will have. Right? That's not who I am. I'm not a fanboy. I don't have any Mercedes F1 merchandise. I don't give a shit about it. But I don't like seeing a man get done over like that. And that's life. I don't like seeing injustice. And he was done. And then you drill down to the underlying dynamics, and you then go a bit further into this. And then you realise the other injustices in life that maybe you previously overlooked. Open your eyes. Start seeing what's really going on in this world. Now is not the time for me to start going into that. Start opening your eyes. Anyway, where else are we? Calling the main host a dickhead. To be fair, I found this comment funny, but he's not a dickhead. He just clearly doesn't know F1 as much as us hardcore fans and doesn't know the rules and what the real crux of the problem is. Okay, well, if you don't know the rules and you don't know what the crux of the problem is, why have you got a job on F1 TV? Right? Why have you got a job in and around the sport of Formula One if you don't know about the sport of Formula One? Now, there's a problem there. And why is there then asking a question in a certain way, saying, "Oh, and fans, fans see the problem as being this." That's what you're telling fans to see the problem as being, not what the real problem is. What are you doing? You're conditioning. You are leading people down a certain narrative. That's what you're paid to do. That's what you're doing. Oh, it's not like that. Oh, trust me. That's what it's like. That is what is happening. And you cannot accept that this is how the media plays you. That's going to hurt you, isn't it? It's going to kick you in the mind. It's going to hurt. But one day, you'll realise that that's the truth of the matter. These talking heads are put there to actually condition your mind. But again, you won't take that from me. I'm just the conspiracy theorist. Anyway, by the way, I agree with your explanation of the crux of the problem and the fixing the race part. Ultimately, the FIA fixed the race. They didn't fix it for Verstappen. They didn't fix it for Hamilton. They fixed the race for entertainment to have a 2-horse race, which you're not allowed to do. Okay? One lap dash where Verstappen happened to be the beneficiary. So they fixed it, right? But at the point in time where they're fixing it, they know that somebody's got an advantage. So they didn't do it for the benefit of Verstappen, even though they knew he got an advantage, yeah? Oh, it just happened like that. That's just luck, is it? Thank you for your opinion. If you know you are setting something up, and you know, actually, when setting this up, that person is going to have an advantage, what you're doing is fixing the outcome. And you can go, oh, but he might not have won. He might, right. Effectively, you are fixing the outcome. You are influencing the outcome. All right? Match fixing in sport is not a certain thing. All right? If you are a defender and in a football team, for example, and you purposefully score an own goal because somebody's paid you to do so, because they want the game to end 1-0 and your team to lose 1-0, and that's what they're betting on. So you as a defender score an own goal with 5 minutes to go. If your striker goes up the other end and scores a goal and so it ends up 1-1, does it mean that you're not guilty of match fixing? Does it mean that you're not guilty of actually trying to fix the result of that match? Well, no, you're guilty of it. It didn't produce the outcome, but you know that what you were trying to do was fixing that match for that result. And that's what's happened with Verstappen. They knew when doing it what was likely to happen. And they did it. And that is race fixing. But again, you'll find, yeah, but every time there's a yeah, but. How many, ask yourself this, how many yeah, buts do you have to say to justify the narrative you've been given? How many things do you have to make allowances for what took place in Abu Dhabi to be okay? Oh, well, it wasn't that, because that's the excuse for that. Oh, well, it wasn't that because that's the excuse for that. Well, there's an excuse for that as well, and there's an excuse for that as well. And that, yeah, that was wrong, but there's an excuse for that. How many of them do you have to accept before you can then be just accepting that it was just a bit controversial? And you don't see that as being a problem. Right. Where are we now? If I were to blame, so they sacked the main man, Michael Massey, and that is the problem solved. Unfortunately, that is the way of the world. At times, there is no justice. Life is not fair. Right, so let's just accept that there's no justice and life is not fair. Or shall we campaign for justice and try and make life fairer? But you want to be accepting. You want to say there is no justice, life's not fair, move on. Right, if that's the way you want to exist, fine. Don't come in the comment section and tell us all that that's what we should do as well. Don't say, look, that's the way it is, just accept it and move on. No, I'm not accepting it. It's not okay. It affects my life. It will affect future generations. Until the point comes where people start standing up and changing things. In the past, throughout time, things have changed. There used to be slavery. There used to be a different way where white people treated black people. That still exists. There used to be times where women were treated differently. That still exists. But over time, people have campaigned. They've campaigned for greater equality. It's still not there yet. We've still got a lot of way to go with all of these things. And I'm not articulating this particularly well. But over the course of time, people have stood up against injustices and changes are made. Don't just accept things that aren't right. We have to keep fighting. We have to keep changing things. Because if you don't, those that are corrupt, those that are actually benefiting, those that are in charge of directing the direction of where this world is going, will continue to do so, and they will do it for their benefit, not yours or ours. There are certain people that live a certain lifestyle, making lots of money, and they're happy. And part of what they're doing with that money is feeding the media companies to get the media to condition you that, oh, this is the way it is. This is the way it is. And while it remains like that, that system benefits them. And so they'll keep paying the media to keep telling you, well, this is the way it is. This is the way it is. And that's what happens. And it will keep going on like that. And it will keep going on like that. And people will keep fighting in the comment section. And while they're fighting each other, they won't be focusing on what's really
impacting their lives in the way it's impacting their lives. So, just coming down a bit. Where are we? Nearly there. So they sacked the main man. If the results would have been overturned, it would have been unfair on Max 100%. Did he deserve the win to win the race? No. But he did, and he did it without cheating, although his overtake was... Right. It's unfair to take it off Max. You took it off Lewis, right? You took it off Lewis. Lewis was the rightful winner of that race. You took it off. So that we'll accept that. But having given it to Max wrongly, it'd be unfair to now take it off of him. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Somebody's burgled your house, but it'd be unfair to take your items back off them. Something that they shouldn't have. You know, somebody has been given some stolen goods, but it'd be unfair to take them back off of them. Some fucking minds are just ridiculous. Like, I just hope that fucking minds like this don't get a chance to do jury service, because we're all fucked. If people like this, that think themselves to be reasonable, think themselves to be intelligent, are allowed to project these opinions, what kind of society have we got? Oh, it's too black and white, is it? It's too black and white. Really? Things aren't black and white. There's not clear right and clear wrong. Right? Because you think it would be unfair on Max 100%. Madness. You don't think that Jonathan Wheatley getting on the radio to Massey saying you can break the rules in effect, Massey, because that's what he done. Oh, but that would be unfair on Max now, because Max didn't do anything wrong. So let's go back to a football example. You've got Pep Guardiola shouting at a referee, ref, 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 give us a penalty, give us a penalty, give us a penalty, right? And then the ref wrongfully gives Manchester City a penalty. Oh, it'd be unfair on the Manchester City players to have that game disallowed, saying it was match fixing, because the Manchester City players didn't do anything wrong. Is that how it is, mate? Is that how it is? Fucking hell, listen to yourself. Unbelievable. Anyway, but he did, and he did it without cheating. Therefore, to then strip him, although it would have been the right thing to do, it would be the right thing to do, but it'd be 100% unfair. Right, okay. Equally, it would have been unfair on him. I think your bias and black and white thinking makes it difficult for you to see. Yeah, I'm the one that clearly can't see. Right, I'm the one that clearly can't see. Now, again, I'm mindful that the length of time this video has gone on for. I told him that a lot of it was opinions, and ultimately, what we get a lot of is what he responded ultimately. And I'm just going to go down to... Oh, where's that gone? Let me go to this bit. Told him that it was opinions, and that it was a long-ass comment. But I told him to watch my videos, and immediately he came back, as they always do, rather than take on board what you say to them. Immediately he had to chirp back in the comment section, had to come straight back. It's like playing tennis with these pricks, right? They hit something at you, so you take it on board, you respond, and rather than them take it on board and go, okay, I will go away and I will have a look, they hit it straight back at you, right? They return it, they parrot it back to you, okay? So I say, go and have a look. Consider who's benefiting, consider who's benefiting. No, straight away, back comes the comment, okay? And so I say, well, there's no point. You've not watched my videos until you watch them. There's no point in continuing the conversation. But then they want to project that you're unreasonable and this, that, and the other. All right? But these are the dynamics of social media interactions. These are the minds. So this is somebody, right, that presents themselves as being even-minded, reasonable, wants to then think that they know what they are talking about. They know the full picture, and anybody presenting something like this, we're just extremists. We don't know what we're doing. We're a cult. You know, what we're trying to say is just some sort of conspiracy theory. Yet they won't go and have a look at what has actually been presented and what I'm evidencing. They'll just dismiss it before even checking it out. The sport of Formula One knows the dynamics of this. The sport of Formula One even had the likes of Brundle presenting, oh, there's all sorts of conspiracy theories going on around and about this. I'll find the clip. There was a clip where you got Brundle saying, oh, there is all sorts of conspiracy theories going on. What's that doing? What's that doing? Straight away, it is conditioning people to dismiss the notion of there being anything else other than what they say. Who's waking up to that? Who is waking up to that? Anyway, it's been a long one. Thank you if you've stuck with it this long. I've got part 5 coming up of what they did, and prior to part 5 I've just got to find as many of these presentations done in the media where they're interviewing the so-called experts of the sport, asking them their take on what happened and what could be done and all this lot, and just show you each and every one of them videos, and they effectively all comply to the same narrative. Not once do you hear what I'm saying it to be here, and you can't argue with what I'm saying it to be here because it's evidence what it is here. So but no doubt people will. Anyway, thanks for your time. Cheers.